I think it's in order to toast the bride and groom, and I might say it's a very happy occasion for me due to the fact that I have known these wonderful people for over 50 years. It's not only their Mr. and Mrs. Amos's 65th wedding anniversary. I might say the wedding anniversary was really yesterday. We're one day late. But it's not only their wedding anniversary, their 65th, but it is also Mr. Amos's birthday. And if we could go back to the records in the old country, in a little town near London, we think that they would show that born to Mr. and Mrs. Amos a son, and that was 89 years ago. So yesterday Mr. Amos was 89 years of age. Mrs. Amos had a birthday also in September. I believe it was the 4th. Or no, I beg your pardon, October. It was this month. No, September. September. I'm getting my wires mixed. And Mrs. Amos, I'm sure doesn't mind me telling her age. She is 86 years young. It's wonderful what two people can do. The results, two people getting married. When you start to look around, and I'll first see if Mr. George Amos, Henrietta, would you come out here, please? Bring your family. It's not too much trouble. I understand that, oh, I see some more of them hiding around here. Come on, Gordon. Gordon and your wife. The babies, if they're asleep, well, it's all right. Yes, well, it doesn't matter. So would you come out here, Gordon? And your wife? Oh, here's part of Gordon's family. Will you introduce your family?
First, my wife, Henrietta. Next is our daughter-in-law, Edith, and Mark Amos, and our son, Gordon, and our oldest grandson, Stanley.
I think
That little girl is upstairs asleep.
I think that's pretty wonderful, friends, having 4 generations, but you haven't seen all yet. B, Cease, Jen, Jim. Oh, you haven't. We may have to go out in the hallway. Cease, old boy, do you know the names of all these children?
I sometimes have to stop and think myself. My good wife, Beatrice, here. My grandson, Doug. And little rascal, Gary. And Valerie. My daughter, Genevieve. And Anita. And my son-in-law, Jim.
And there again, friends, we have 4 generations. And all the family isn't here. I'm very sorry that Percy, living in Victoria, was unable to be present. You can sit down if you like to see so. was unable to be here today, but we'll read a wire from him later. Now, going back to the old country, Mr. Amos left for the west, and it was a little place called Coppell in Saskatchewan. He was only a very young man of 18 years of age. Mrs. Amos left quite a while before him. It was queer that they didn't meet each other in the old country, but it's one of those things. Mrs. Amos, I would like to say, is one of, I stand correction here, either 10 or 11 of a family. And the folks, her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Glover, knew that they'd never be able to find sufficient land for all these folks, so they had to send them west. And they landed in Coppell, Saskatchewan also. And when I understand this was some sort of a colonization scheme, I believe it had something to do with the Methodists. I believe Mr. and Mrs. Amos have been Methodists. Mrs. Amos just tells me it was a British colony. It seems as though that this land was made available for these people, and they came out to live on the land and settle it and to make a livelihood. When they reached this new home of theirs, they found their nearest neighbor was 60 miles away. So you had to say a lot when you saw that neighbor. Well, it seems as though this wonderful couple got acquainted there, and Mrs. Amos looked out the road one day and saw an ox cart coming down the road. Mr. Amos seemed to have a lot of string tied around his hand, and she said to her mother, "What is all this, what's Harry doing with all this string tied on his hand?" And their mother said, "Well, now, I don't know, Maud. I wonder what he is doing." And of course the old ox team were just creeping slowly along. It wasn't fly time, or they'd been really moving. But anyway, when Harry comes in, Maud Amos says, "Harry, what's the string for?" And he says, "I've come to tie the knot." Well, we won't go on too much about until they were decided that they should come further west. And they did just that. They didn't come to Nelson. I believe it was either Vernon or Enderby, somewhere over in the Okanagan, that part of the world. And there wasn't much money in the country in those days. You couldn't just choose your vocation. One had to get out and take what was available if they had to keep the wolf from the door. But I understand Mr. Amos got started in the merchandising business in Vernon, and I'm not quite so sure what transpired in Enderby, but anyway, the next move was they thought they'd gone far enough west, they better start back east again, so they came to Nelson. And their family were all very young then. Of course, I'm not saying, don't follow me too closely, because B. Grizel, I don't think she wants me to know just what her age is. She always tells me it's not over 39, or near 39, something like that. But anyway, Mr. Amos, along with his good wife, they, I believe it was the Bell Trading Company that they started to operate. They started a retail merchandising store, and they branched out and went on from there. And I might tell a little joke on Mr. Amos. I was in the wholesale grocery business for a while, and of course we had something in common. And I said to Mr. Amos one day, Mr. Amos, how do you manage to, how do you get along here? How do you figure your percentage of profits? How do you base your selling? You base it on your cost or on your selling? And Mr. Amos said, well, Bert, there's one thing I always feel I feel as though I must be very fair to my customers. If an article cost me $1 and I sell it for $2, I've made 2%. Well, that I'm just kidding. Mr. Amos didn't say that. That's some of my own concoction. But these people, after they finally decided to go west again, and very good friends, and their next move was to Victoria. And I can't believe it, but I believe it was somewhere around 28 years ago, was it, Mr. and Ms. Amos? And we're awfully glad that they're here today. Mr. and Mrs. Amos, they're great hosts if you can find them home. But we can hardly ever find them home when we go down to Victoria out on Quadra Street. They're usually over visiting somebody in Vancouver, the Honorable H.H. Stevens, and what's my girlfriend's name, Ma? Mrs. Amos, that I like so well, that was in the customs? What name? Harford. Yes, Rose Harford. She's my favorite. But anyway, there's a lot other than Mrs. Amos, of course. Mrs. Amos is my favorite, but then, I mean, of the other girls. But they're always visiting, and they go for long walks, and it seems as though that in Victoria there's a bus that goes somewhere every Sunday, and you just pay the bus driver so much money, and you don't know where you're going to get there. Well, they take a lot of these trips. But it's nice that these friends of ours are able to take these trips, and they're so well and healthy. And I want you to join in wishing them many, many more years of health and happiness. Let's drink to Mr. and Mrs. Amos. More health and better health and happiness. Continue. I've been handed some letters and telegrams I'll read to you. One of them is from Buckingham Palace, and it's dated October the 3rd and addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Harry Amos, carrying care of their daughter and son-in-law, H.C. Griselle, 609 Latimer Street. The Queen is much interested to hear that you are celebrating the 65th anniversary of your wedding day, and sends you warm congratulations and good wishes on this memorable occasion. Signed, Private Secretary. And our friend, that the benefit of those that left, that's just arrived, I might say that Lieutenant Governor Ross and Mrs. Ross were here and paid their compliments to Mr. and Mrs. Amos, and also had their picture taken with them. And here is also a wire from Frank M. Ross, Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia. Mr. and Mrs. Harry Amos, my congratulations and very best wishes on this, your 65th wedding anniversary. Here's another one from our friend, the Premier, W.A.C. Bennett, and it's from Victoria, of course. And I also notice, oh yes, it's forwarded to Quadra Street, where Mr. and Mrs. Amos live. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Amos, it is a great pleasure to have this opportunity to extend my sincere congratulations for your 65th wedding anniversary, which we'll be celebrating on October the 4th. Mrs. Bennett joins me in sending our very best wishes for our continued health and happiness, and may you have a very happy celebration on the day. Yours sincerely, W.A.C. Bennett, Premier. And I mentioned that one of the family was unable to be here today. That was Percy and his wife Nita, but they haven't forgotten their father and mother, and they say here, love, best wishes on this wonderful occasion celebrating your 65th anniversary. Sorry we cannot be with you, and be there, but we'll be there in spirit. Signed, Percy and Nita. Now, this is one from Victoria, and it's to Mr. and Mrs. Amos, and it's signed by Jenny Wiley. I believe that's a niece of Mr. and Mrs. Amos. Congratulations on your 65th wedding anniversary. Birthday greetings to you, Uncle Harry. Love, Jenny Wiley. There's one more here, and it's a letter from His Worship the Mayor, T.S. Shorthouse. I think this is very, very nice of Mayor Shorthouse. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Amos, on this anniversary occasion, the corporation and citizens of Nelson desire to share with you felicitations on the completion of 65 years of wedlock. Over the years, you have been associated with this city and district and have seen it grow from practically a silent wilderness to its present stature. And we wish you to know that your individual and collective contributions to its growth and prosperity are truly recognized. On behalf of all our citizens, we express the fervent wish that long life, good health, and happiness may be yours for many years to come. Yours sincerely, signed T.S. Shorthouse, Mayor. I think that's very nice. Well, now, friends, once more, let us wish Mr. and Mrs. Amos the very, very best in years to come. I'd just like to mention that Mr. Barnes is here, and he has something to say to you. Mr. Barnes?
Many thanks, Mr. Toastmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, before starting my remarks, I would like to tell you a little story. Yesterday afternoon, Mr. Grizel arrived with a list of dates, wedding dates, birthdays, and so on, arrival in Canada, and so on, and from that, I built up what I considered was a pretty fair speech. I arrive here today, and I find that the Toastmaster has already given you my speech. And so, I can only start from when I met Mr. Amos. I arrived in Nelson in 1915, and Mr. Amos was then operating in the Bell Trading Company, and I got to know him within a few days. Incidentally, of course, sold him some merchandise, because in these days I was selling flour, believe it or not. He, at that time, was very active in the YMCA. And one of the first things he did was to sell me a membership in the YMCA. They had formed a businessman's class, and we had to attend twice a week. Unfortunately, shortly after I entered, I guess I was too big a man, because we were playing baseball in the indoor type, and we hurt Mr. Amos pretty badly, and he forgot the businessman's class from then on. But he was a great community worker. And as a matter of fact, he was one of our finest citizens. He was superintendent of the Trinity Sunday School for 30 years. He was active in anything at all pertaining to the good of the community. At this point, I might mention that he and Mrs. Amos were two of the first passengers on the ferry, which started in 1912. And while he was visiting here last fall, he and his good lady were one of the first to cross the bridge. As I said before, most of my thunder has gone before, so I'm rather at a loss to know just what to say. One thing I would like to mention is this, that Mrs. MacPhail was the originator of what I'm going to hand over today to the bride and groom. And I think she should be highly congratulated on the work she has done with her daughter. She has asked me to hand over to Mr. and Mrs. Amos a purse, which is a token of the good feeling, friendship, and high respect which we all feel for Mr. and Mrs. Amos. And I can again repeat what our good friend Mr. Harrison has said, that we wish them many happy years to come, and I think we'll see them go through their 75th anniversary in their stride. Thanks very much.
Really, I am at a loss where to start. But as I look around in the faces of the people that are here, such friendship and such a wonderful reception that you've given us. Many of you, I'm sure, have gone out of your way to come here this afternoon. I cannot tell you how great a feeling of gratitude I feel to all of you, and what a wonderful time. My memory goes back, the memories of the happy childhood days of our children, and how so many of these children have grown into manhood and womanhood, and we see before us the third and fourth generation. But how often have we heard the phrase that this generation is not what it should be? That phrase is not right. The present generation has shown the wonderful progress. We are living in a progressive age, and they've shown their desire to progress with that age. And we should be very happy, all of us, as parents and grandparents, to see the wonderful things they are accomplishing. And I'm sure they will have a great future before them. Thank you very much, one and all, and God bless you.
Friends, this isn't finished yet. We haven't cut, the bride hasn't cut the cake, and our good friend here, Ross Fleming, that is making a recording of this, Ross, you better tell them. I am not able to talk. I never was a talker.
You can't tell me that after hearing them today, but the purpose of this recording, ladies and gentlemen, is to make a record for Mr. and Mrs. Amos and give it to them And on that record, we have already recorded the procedure as it has come up to now. And we would like the voice of every one of you with your name and your congratulations on the tape. And so that Mr. and Mrs. Amos will have a record of everyone here, if possible. Now, if you have, there are quite a number here, but nevertheless, if you have a little anecdote that you would like, or a joke that you would like to tell on Mr. and Mrs. Amos, or any other incident, kindly do so. For my part, I'll say that I delivered the Dodgers for the opening of the Bell Trading Company.
Happy anniversary, Mother and Dad. This is George speaking. In case you don't recognize my voice, someone has said that in order to have friends, you must be one. The fact that all these people came out here today to wish you well, I think is evidence that you have been friends, not only in Nelson, but everywhere you have lived. Again, for Henrietta and myself, Gordon and his family, God bless you. Here's Stanley and Mark. They want to say hello. Just say, this is Mark. Happy anniversary, Grandma. Oh, this is Stanley.
This is Stanley, Grandma. Happy anniversary.
Where's Mark? Get him,
Happy anniversary, Mark. This is happy anniversary, Grandmother and Grandfather. This is Mark.
Speak to Mrs. or Mrs. Amos.
Happy anniversary.
I've been sitting with her all night.
Oh, yeah. Well, you just say happy anniversary.
Mrs. Lawton,
And that's
happy
Miss
anniversary.
Lawton.
Well, I did.
Yes, but you didn't do it for me.
Oh, well, I don't like it.
Well, you do it for her, Irene.
Mrs. Lawton and Irene wish them many happy anniversaries. And Grace Davis.
Good.
Do you say the name?
You say the name.
This is a very happy occasion, and I count it a great privilege to be present.
I'm Grace Lawton Davis, and I wish you many, many more anniversaries.
Best wishes to you both from Mr. and Mrs. Fred Thompson. Bye.
Jesse F. Walker, sincere congratulations to you both.
They're right over there.
This is Elva, Ma and Pa. Do you remember the time I was at your place for the weekend and you cured me with vinegar and brown paper? The only time I had ever heard of it. Thanks, Ma.
Hardy, congratulations. So glad to be here.
This is Jenny K. Ludlow. It used to be Jenny Montgomery, and my father had a candy store right next to the Bell Trading Company years ago. I wish them all kinds of happiness in their later years.
Charlotte Wood, best wishes for much happiness. Charlotte Wood Nelson. Alfred Wood, and then say something.
This is This is Alfred Wood speaking. I'm very pleased to be here during this celebration, and hope that everything will run along smoothly and everybody will have a good time.
When I was a little girl just out from New Brunswick, I used to do the shopping for Mother at the Bell Trading, and I can remember how sad we all were when the Bell Trading closed up.
I'm very happy to be here today to wish Mr. and Mrs. Amos greetings, congratulations. You know, it's the wealthy and the great that often make the large brushstrokes on the canvas of history. But it's the humble, the industrious people that make the finer strokes and give life purpose and meaning. Mr. and Mrs. Amos have given every community in which they've lived purpose and meaning by their work, by their efforts, and on that account they are respected by all that have known them throughout the years.
Your name,
H.W. Herridge.
Oh, wait a minute. down. Say that all over again. Your name and all.
This is Pearl McCalman McClanders, and I wish to thank Mr. and Mrs. Amos and B and Cease for the lovely afternoon. Also wish them all a very happy future.
Mr. and Mrs. Amos, wish you the very best in the years to come. This is Amelia Oliver.
Congratulations, Graham and Graham. I hope our years will be as happy as yours were.
Say your name.
Jen.
You want to say something? Hello, Brenda. Say hello.
You want to lean over closer to it?
Yeah, it's about 4 or 5 inches.
Congratulations on your 65th wedding anniversary. Gordon, your grandson. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Amos, Walter Ferguson speaking, and I extend you congratulations to myself and my wife, and I have many happy recollections of you and Mrs. Amos and the children from the very early days in Nelson.
This is Mrs. J. Robertson speaking. I wish to give you my heartiest congratulations. So glad to have known you so long.
Mrs. Margaret Towers. I'm very, very happy for the couple and wish them many more years of happiness. Thank you.
Congratulations and all good wishes from Helen Choquette.
Congratulations and carry on, you two wonderful people. Kay Pearson.
Mr. and Mrs. Harry Amos, best of luck and lots of happiness for the future to come.
Give your name.
Tony DeFaro.
My name is Doug Ross, and congratulations, Grandpa and Grandma.
Elmer Kalbick. It's nice to see him. A couple that worked so much for the good of the community in the Sunday schools.
Hello, Harry and Mrs. Amos. This is Dave Proudfoot. You understand they're recording all this, and I want to be sure and be honest. I tell the people around here I know more about you and Mrs. Amos than you know about yourselves. However, that isn't quite true, but it's very close. I was awful proud to see you here today. Your husband, you, 89, and your good wife, 86, same age as I am. We had a lovely hug and smack, and it felt sweet to me. Goodbye. God bless you both.
My name is Frances Nicholson. I know you remember me from the time that you were up before. You remarked when I spoke to you here in this Silver Room Hall, Mr. Amos, I'm speaking to, that you remembered the last time you saw me I wasn't quite so well, but that I'm well enough now because I surely look it, and I really do feel wonderful, and I extend the best wishes in the world for all the rest of your life, and God bless you, both of you.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Amos. Best wishes for your 65th wedding anniversary, and I wish you many more happy years together. Lily and all. Okay?
Oh, this is Herman A. Nicholson and Harry and your good wife. It's been lovely seeing you again, and I can't help but admire your youth and beauty of your wife and the way you stood up through the years. Many years of a happy married happiness, both to you and Mrs. Amos, Harry. Goodbye now.
Hello, folks. This is Molly Emmett speaking. I was Molly Halsey when I first knew the Amoses. I wish them both continued good health and good life. Thanks.
This is Walter Smedley speaking, and I'm very pleased to be here. And it's a very nice occasion. Thank you.
Best wishes to you both. Love and best wishes to you both from Ida May.
This is Gladys Ewing, and I just want to say many, many happy returns of today. That's it.
My name is Mrs. Charles Morris, but during the early days of the Amoses and the McVickers here, I was Mabel McVicker. And when my old friends greeted me as if they remembered me by my old name, I was most delighted. It's been lovely seeing them as folks, as well as have the what's the word I want now? To be in on their celebration. And I certainly congratulate them and wish them well for a long, long time. Is that all right?
Lula McVicker, and many, many years of happiness and good health to both of you. And it's been a great pleasure to see you both again.
Jim Ross, on your 65th anniversary, many a happy return today.
Happy anniversary, Mr. and Mrs. Amos. Many more of them still.
Marge Harrison. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Amos.
Love to Mother and Dad on this wonderful occasion. B and cease.
Hello, Mom and Dad. Hope you had a happy day. Love, B.
Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Amos. This is Alice Law, and my daughter Sarah is so happy to have been in charge of your guest book today. And she wishes you the best of health and long life and many happy years to come.
This is George Laub, and I'm very proud and privileged to be here today to wish you continued happiness and health in the years to come.
Mr. and Mrs. Amos, this is Ruth Proudfoot and daughter of Mrs. Thielen. And I remember the early days when Mother used to pay her bill, and you would always present we children with candy. And that custom, I see, has been done away with. It never happens now. Congratulations, and many, many future happy days in store for you both. Goodbye.
This is Ross Fleming speaking. We have more congratulations recorded, but they will have to go on another record. I would like to express the best wishes of the Fleming family to you, Harry, and your good wife on your 65th wedding anniversary, and on your attaining the wonderful age of 89 and 86, still going strong. I'm sure my sister Ethel Fleury would have liked to have been here and reminisce on the old Regina and Capel days. The name of Glover was an honored one in our Regina home. For myself, I am pleased to say that we have always been good friends in business and in our private lives. The outstanding service of both of you to Trinity Church was always a high mark of devotion. I hope that you may enjoy many more years of happiness and good health. I also hope that you enjoy these records of the voices of your friends and relatives. We did not get them all, but this is a very good sample. Now please turn to the next record.
Mr. and Miss Amos, this is Marjorie McCausham, and best wishes.
This is Tony Fair. Best wishes on your congratulations, your anniversary.
Brown, wishing you all the happiness that you can ever have for the remaining part of your life.
Hello, dear. This is Flora Gamble speaking. It's just been heavenly having you with us today. I hope you have many, many more happy years ahead of you.
Okay. Mrs. Herman Nicholson, we were just delighted that Mr. Amos is looking so well. And we haven't seen him for a number of years, but he recognized my daughter from quite a few years back and said she was looking so much better. I hope you have many happy years, Mr. and Mrs. Amos.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Dad and Ma. Happy anniversary. This is Indiana.
Clem Appleyard speaking. Heartiest congratulations, Harry, and your good wife.
and long life and happy one. Hello, Harry. How's Capel Valley?
Your name?
Doug Cummins.
Say hi, Grandma and Grandpa. Hi, Grandpa and Grandpa. Say Gary. Gary.
Mr. and Mrs. Amos, this is Bill Harrison, 917 10th Street, Nelson. I think you're an absolutely wonderful couple, and I offer you my sincere congratulations on this, your 65th wedding anniversary, and I hope you have many, many years of happiness ahead.
All right. Say your name.
Jessie McPhail speaking. I'm so glad to be here today, and congratulations on your 65th anniversary.
This is Elizabeth Muir. I would like to wish Mr. and Mrs. Amos the happiness and continued prosperity through the rest of their days.
You speak right in. This is Mrs. Ritchie speaking, Mrs. Amos. It's nice to see you again. I wish you many years of health and happiness.
It's Mrs. Stark, and I'd like to wish you the best of happiness and health for the rest of your years. So pleased to be here. Mrs. Stark, Mr. and Mrs. Amos. Thank you.
Elsie Rowley, congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Amos, and good health and happiness in the future.
Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Amos. This is Frank Clark-Rowley speaking, 712 Stanley. Keep up the good work. Keep that bus travel going.
I am Aubrey Phillips from Trail, and I wish to offer my heartiest congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Amos on their 65th wedding anniversary.
This is Jack Morris, Mr. Amos, but I got a message here for you from John A. Ferguson. He says you used to teach him in Sunday school, and you did a good job of it, but he didn't keep it up.
This is Alice McPhail Simon, and I wish you all the happiness and long living, and been most enjoyable seeing you again.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Amos. This is Elsie Harrison. My love and congratulations to you both. It's been wonderful seeing you, and I hope you'll be up again next year.
This is Harry Burns speaking. I've been in Nelson here a good many years. My family came here in 1898, but I'm very sorry I didn't know the Amos family. I knew their daughter and their son-in-law very well. They had a very nice time here today anyway. It's a good crowd.
Jack McCollum, congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Amos on this their 65th anniversary.
Hello, this is Ted and Vic, and congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Amos. It's been wonderful being here with you tonight. Bye.
This is J.H. Walls.
Go ahead again. Say your name and give the congratulations.
Oh, yes. Mrs. J.H. Walls. Congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Amos on their 65th birthday. Wedding day.
Now you tell them how old you are now.
No, I'm not going to do it at the time. No, I'm not going to.
This is Jack McDonald, Mr. and Mrs. Amos. Congratulations on your wedding anniversary. I'm glad to see you both looking so well. Okay?
That's fine. Norman Stibbs, congratulations, Harry and Mrs. Amos.
Stibbs, congratulations. The next 65 will be just as happy as the first 65.
This is Carol Proudfoot. I'd like to congratulate you, Mr. and Mrs. Amos, on your 65th anniversary. It's been a wonderful experience being here for this anniversary, and I know my mother and father have just been thrilled.
This is Dr. Bradshaw. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Amos. This takes you back a few years ago to when you used to run the old Bell Trading. There's been some changes taking place since that time, and no doubt these years
you've enjoyed at Victoria have certainly been a result of the good weather you've had down there. But if you had lived here, I'm sure that you'll go on to about 100 anyway. Thanks very much. That.
This is Emerance Brown. I'd like to say congratulations to Mr. Amos.
Rolly Brown, and the very best wishes for you, Mr. and Mrs. Amos, for a long life and a pleasant one.
Say hello, Grandma.
Hello, brother.
Hello,
This is Barbie.
This is Edith. I hope we can celebrate some more anniversaries with you and many, many happy returns of the day.
Congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Amos from Catherine and Jack Argyle.
Mr. and Mrs. Amos, this is Jack Argyle. I have known you for so many years. It is a pleasure to be present at this, your 89th birthday, I am told. It gives me great pleasure to be here, and I wish you many, many years of happy life.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Amos. We're very charmed to be here. We've known your son Percy a great number of years in Caslow, and we're very pleased to congratulate you on your 55th anniversary, is it?
Your name?
Yeah, Farney. Roy C. Farney.
This is Mrs. Knoxon speaking. I want to congratulate Mr. and Mrs. Amos very sincerely.
Edna Cummins, we had a wonderful time at your anniversary.
I am Vincent Fink, and Mrs. Fink and I consider it a great pleasure to be here this afternoon. I only hope I look as well when I'm had 65 years with my wife as Mr. Amos does with his wife.
This is Renee Fink speaking. I'm sure when I've been married 65 years, I won't look as handsome as Mr. and Mrs. Amos.
Well, this is Gene Levesque, and I consider it a rare privilege to be here today and congratulate you on your 65th wedding anniversary. I hope that you have many more days ahead to look back on the pleasant years that are past and to look forward to a great many more in the future. Cheerio.
Oh, this is Ada Levesque, and I really am so happy to be here with you today. The very best to you in the future.
This is Mrs. Thomas McNee speaking, and I'm very happy to be here today to celebrate with the Mr. and Mrs. Amos their wonderful 65th birthday, and I wish them very many more days of happiness and good health. Thank you.
Mrs. Auld speaking. We've enjoyed the afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Amos. Many happy recollections of days gone by. Best wishes for happiness, health in the future years.
Hello, Mrs. Amos. A very happy day. We enjoyed it. Molly Barnes.
I'm going to make a... Okay.
Well, congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Amos on their 65th anniversary. This is Mrs. C.R. Farney of Caslow, and we're sorry that Percy, their son, didn't get in. Is that all right?
That's fine. Go ahead.
Mr. Harkness, congratulations for your 65th anniversary.
Margaret Dingwall, congratulations to a grand old couple.
Jesse McKinnon. Hope we'll find you home when I get back to Victoria.
Get it?
Well, there you are, folks. I hope you enjoyed the record. Goodbye and come again.